The courtroom doors slammed shut with a thunder that silenced everyone. A decorated soldier clutched the wheels of his chair, his breath sharp, his eyes filled with pain. And then, breaking the silence, a German shepherd rose to his feet, barking into the tense air as if he could sense the lies no one else dared to speak. What if the one friend who could save your life wasn't even human? What if a dog could reveal the truth when every voice around you had failed? In the next few minutes, you'll witness the unbelievable story of Eli and his loyal companion Ghost, the dog who turned a courtroom upside down and gave his master a second chance at life. Before the story begins, if you believe in miracles and second chances, this story will touch your heart. But first, I want you to do 3 things. Comment below with amen if you believe in hope that never dies. Tell us in the comments which country you're watching from, because I want to see how far this story reaches. And finally, share your thoughts after the video. What part of this story touched your soul the most? Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the bell, because I promise the stories coming next are even more powerful, even more emotional, and you won't want to miss them. Now, let's begin the story. Eli Morgan was once the kind of man people looked up to, strong, disciplined, unshakable. He had been a Marine, someone trained to endure storms, to face fear head-on, to stand tall when others fell. But war has a way of stripping a man bare. It doesn't just take flesh and bone, it digs deeper, stealing sleep, peace, and sometimes hope. When Eli returned home, he wasn't the same. His body was broken, his legs refusing to carry the weight of the man he once was. A wheelchair became his prison, and the silence of nights became his battlefield. Every creak of the house, every shadow on the wall, felt like the echo of something he couldn't escape. And yet, through all the pain, through all the loneliness, one presence stayed: Ghost. The German shepherd wasn't just a dog. To Eli, Ghost was a brother, a protector, a shadow stitched to his soul. Ghost never looked at Eli with pity. He never flinched at the sight of the wheelchair, never turned away when the nights grew heavy. When the nightmares came, Ghost was there, pressing his warm body close, nudging Eli's trembling hands, grounding him back to reality. In a world that had turned its back on him, Ghost remained. But not everyone in Eli's world was loyal. Not everyone chose to stay. Vanessa, Eli's wife, had once promised forever. She had once stood at his side, smiling for the photographs, vowing to love him through sickness and health. But time revealed the cracks. Her patience grew thin. Her eyes no longer carried warmth when they looked at him. What Eli didn't know was that her heart had already turned toward betrayal, toward lies, toward something much darker than simple abandonment. Vanessa had plans, and those plans didn't include a broken Marine in a wheelchair. The courtroom in Montana was quiet the day everything began to unravel. The kind of silence that presses on your chest, that makes you aware of every breath, every shuffle of paper, every heartbeat in the room. Eli sat at the defense table, shoulders squared but face unreadable. Beside him, Ghost rested on the floor, eyes sharp, ears twitching at every sound. The dog's presence alone seemed to fill the room with a tension no one could explain. Some whispered that Ghost could sense things humans couldn't, that he could tell truth from lies, that he could smell betrayal. Across the room sat Vanessa, dressed in polished black, lips painted red. She looked like someone rehearsed for the stage, like every gesture was meant to be seen. Her fingers twisted a strand of hair nervously, but her eyes flickered with something else. The judge cleared his throat, papers shuffled, and then Vanessa was called to speak. Her heels clicked on the wooden floor as she walked to the stand. For a moment she stared at Eli, the man she had once promised her life to, the man she was now ready to bury with her words. The room leaned forward, waiting. And then her lips trembled, her eyes watered just enough to glisten under the lights, and in a voice soft, fragile, rehearsed, she whispered, "I loved him once." The words hung in the air like smoke. For a second, people shifted uncomfortably. Some sighed, some believed her, but not Eli. He had seen those lips shape lies before, and Ghost, lying at his feet, let out a low, rumbling growl that made Vanessa's eyes dart toward him. What Vanessa didn't confess, not yet, was that her love had a limit, that she had already crossed lines no one could have imagined, that she had betrayed not just vows, but lives. And soon, every truth she tried to hide would claw its way out. The judge leaned forward, brow furrowed. "Mrs. Morgan," he said firmly, "this is a courtroom. Speak clearly. Are you saying you no longer love your husband?" Vanessa blinked, feigning hurt. "I loved him once," she repeated. "But love isn't enough when a man becomes a stranger." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Eli's hands tightened on the arms of his wheelchair, but he said nothing. Silence was his weapon now. Silence and Ghost's steady presence by his side. Because Eli knew something the rest of the room didn't. Love wasn't the real reason Vanessa was here. Money was. Fraud was. Lies twisted into a web so tight, even she couldn't escape it forever. And Ghost had already sensed the storm before anyone else. The air in the courtroom thickened. The jury shifted in their seats. The judge's pen tapped against the desk, waiting for more. Everyone leaned forward, hungry for what Vanessa would reveal next. But what she didn't know was that this trial would not go the way she planned, because sometimes truth doesn't come from human lips. Sometimes it comes from unexpected places, from shadows, from loyalty, from a German shepherd named Ghost. And in that moment, as Vanessa lowered her gaze and pretended to wipe a tear, Eli whispered to himself, so low only Ghost could hear, "It's starting." Ghost's ears twitched, his body stiffened. His eyes locked on Vanessa like he already knew what was coming. The courtroom had no idea that the story they were witnessing wasn't about divorce or broken vows. It was about something much bigger, something that would shake every person sitting in those polished wooden chairs. Because betrayal has consequences, and love, true love, loyal love, has a way of clawing back through the lies, and soon the world would discover which one was stronger. But what happened next? No one in that courtroom was prepared for it. The courtroom was silent, the kind of silence that weighed heavy on the chest. Eli sat at the defendant's table, his hands folded tightly. Beside him, Ghost lay stretched out, but his golden eyes were fixed on the door, his body tense, as if he already sensed the storm that was about to crash into their lives. Across the room, Vanessa stepped forward. She looked calm, polished, the picture of control. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice smooth yet cold, "this man is not the hero you believe he is. Eli is a coward, a deserter, a man who abandoned his duty and fabricated stories to hide his shame." Vanessa paced slowly, her heels clicking like a metronome of doom. She pulled out documents, photographs, even testimonies written by men Eli once fought beside. "Here," she said, slapping a paper down on the evidence table, "proof that Eli fled the battlefield, proof that his so-called injuries came not from courage, but from his own cowardice." Eli's lawyer tried to object, but the damage was already seeping into the minds of the jurors. Eli sat frozen, his heart pounding. Every word Vanessa spoke was like reopening an old wound, a wound that had never healed. He remembered the night she was talking about, the chaos, the fire, the screams, but it wasn't cowardice that made him run. It was survival. And there was more to that night than Vanessa would ever admit. Ghost suddenly stood, his ears flat, his nose twitching toward the back of the courtroom. Eli noticed. Ghost had that look, the one he always had when danger was near. "Sit," Eli whispered, and Ghost reluctantly obeyed, though his eyes never left the shadows at the rear of the hall. Vanessa smirked, sensing victory. She leaned in close to the jury, her voice dropping to a whisper meant to sound sincere. "Heroes don't run," she said. "Heroes don't hide. Heroes don't lie." Eli finally spoke, his voice raw but steady. "I didn't run," he said. The courtroom stilled. Even Vanessa paused, just for a heartbeat. He stood, ignoring his lawyer's tug at his sleeve. His hands trembled, but his eyes burned with truth. "I didn't run," he repeated. "That night, I carried men on my back while flames burned my skin. I heard bullets flying past me, closer than breath, closer than heartbeat. And when the fire trapped us, Ghost," he looked down at the dog, his partner, his proof of survival, "Ghost pulled us out. If you think I lied, then you're saying this dog's scars are lies too. Look at him. Look at his body. He bled beside me." The jurors shifted, some looking down in shame, others watching Ghost with wide eyes. Ghost, sensing the moment, sat tall, chest out, scars visible under his fur like metals no one could take away. But Vanessa wasn't finished. She narrowed her eyes. "A convenient story," she said coldly. "A dog can't testify. A dog can't tell us what really happened." Eli clenched his fists. Ghost growled again. And then something happened that no one expected. From the back of the courtroom, a figure moved. A man, thin, pale, walking with a limp. The sound of his cane echoed louder than Vanessa's heels. Everyone turned. "Objection," Vanessa snapped. "Who is this?" But the judge raised a hand. "State your name." The man's voice was rough, broken, but filled with truth. "Corporal Dean Harker," he said. "I was there that night. And everything Eli just told you, it's the truth. If it weren't for him and that dog, I'd be dead." The room erupted in whispers. Vanessa froze, her face pale. Eli's chest heaved as he stared at Dean, the man he thought had died in that fire. He felt the air rush out of him, like life itself had just walked back into the room. Dean limped closer, his eyes locking on Vanessa. "You want proof? You're looking at it." Eli didn't run. He carried me, unconscious, through fire and bullets. He saved me. And Ghost, his voice broke as he looked at the scarred shepherd. "That dog dragged me out when I couldn't move. You want to call him a liar? Then call me one too." For the first time, Vanessa's mask cracked. Her lips trembled. Her eyes darted. Eli's lawyer seized the moment, hammering the point home. But Eli wasn't listening to the legal jargon anymore. He was staring at Dean, his brother in arms, the man whose absence had haunted his nightmares. And for the first time in years, Eli felt the heavy weight on his chest begin to lift. Still, the fight wasn't over. Vanessa wasn't done. Her voice rose again, desperate now. "You think this changes anything? You think one man's word saves you? There are still documents. There are still records." Ghost barked suddenly, loud and sharp, startling the room. His gaze shot to Vanessa's briefcase. Eli followed his dog's eyes, and something clicked. Ghost never barked at random. The judge ordered silence, but Eli stepped forward, his voice steady. "Check her case." The bailiff hesitated, but the judge nodded. The briefcase was opened, and inside, dozens of altered files, forged reports, doctored testimonies, lies, all carefully planted to bury Eli. The room exploded. Vanessa screamed, lunging forward, but Ghost leapt between her and Eli, teeth bared, his growl shaking the air. Eli stood frozen, his heart pounding. It was over. Or at least this battle was. But inside he knew it was only the beginning. Ghost pressed his head against Eli's hand, grounding him, reminding him he wasn't alone. Dean stood tall beside him, scarred but alive. The courtroom had turned into chaos, but Eli only felt one thing: the storm had broken, and the real war was just beginning. The evening sky was painted in shades of gold and violet, the kind of beauty that only comes after a storm. Eli sat on the porch of his small wooden cabin, a flannel blanket draped across his shoulders. Beside him lay Ghost, his steady companion, breathing softly, his white fur glowing in the fading light. For the first time in years, Eli felt still, not restless, not bitter, but at peace. The world around him was quiet, yet inside his chest there was a strange warmth, as if something broken had finally begun to heal. Eli ran his hand over Ghost's back, smiling as the dog shifted closer, pressing his weight against him. "You're not just a dog," Eli whispered. "You're my anchor." A crunch of boots on the wooden steps broke the silence. Sam appeared, carrying something under his arm. His smile was tired but kind. Without a word, he set a worn leather-bound journal in Eli's lap. "What's this?" Eli asked, raising an eyebrow. "Fan mail," Sam chuckled. "People heard Ghost's story. Kids wrote letters. Thought you might like to read them." Eli hesitated. His fingers traced the cover before opening it. Inside were pages filled with shaky handwriting, doodles, and heartfelt words. "Dear Eli and Ghost, you made me believe in miracles. Another read, when I feel scared, I think about Ghost being brave. Page after page, letters from children who had found hope in his story. A laugh escaped Eli's throat, rough but genuine. He shook his head in disbelief. Me? A broken soldier in a chair, inspiring kids? Sam smiled softly. Sometimes the people who feel the most broken shine the brightest without realizing it. Eli leaned back, his eyes stinging. Ghost stirred, lifting his head and pressing his cold nose against Eli's arm, as if reminding him that none of this was a dream. For years, Eli had prayed for healing, prayed for his legs to work again, for the life he had lost. But in that golden evening, he realized something he had never understood before. My legs, my pride, my marriage, all gone, Eli whispered into the night. But God, you gave me this. You gave me him. The fire of bitterness that had once eaten Eli alive was gone. In its place was something deeper, gratitude. He had walked through pain, loss, and darkness, but on the other side, he had found loyalty, hope, and a second chance at life. A soft breeze rustled the trees. Eli turned his gaze upward, his eyes reflecting the shimmer of the stars. You know what, Ghost? He said with a smile. Maybe this is exactly where I was meant to end up, right here, with you. The camera of life seemed to pull back in that instant, showing not just a broken man, but a man rebuilt, not by muscle, not by medals, but by love, loyalty, and faith. In that small cabin under a sky full of stars, Eli found what he thought he had lost forever. Not his legs, not his past, but his future. A future where pain was no longer the end of the story. A future where Ghost walked beside him, not as a reminder of what was gone, but as a promise of what was yet to come. Because sometimes miracles don't roar with thunder. Sometimes they simply breathe quietly at your side, loyal and unshakable. He had walked through fire, and on the other side, he had found something greater than victory. He had found peace. Ghost wasn't just a dog. He was proof that miracles come in unexpected forms, sometimes as a friend, sometimes as a stranger, sometimes as a dog who never leaves your side.